On Memorial Day, we remembered solemnly the deaths of 1.2 million Americans who volunteered or were conscripted to defend their country in wars going all the way back to the Revolutionary War. 1.2 million Americans have died in our wars. Just since 1978, 1.5 million Americans have died from guns. I mean, just let that sink in for a moment. This is not freedom. This is absolutely not freedom. And this explosion of gun violence, by the way, started in 1978. In 1977, there was an internal coup inside the NRA, and basically front men for the manufacturers and a bunch of right-wingers who thought that someday they'd want to fight a civil war in America against liberals took over the NRA. The next year, 1978, the Supreme Court ruled that corporations like the NRA could give basically unlimited amounts of money and other forms of support to political candidates and ballot initiatives. This was a decision called First National Bank of Boston versus Bellotti. Frank Bellotti was the state attorney general in Massachusetts at the time. And they had this law that said that, you know, that banks couldn't put money into political campaigns unless they were specific around issues having to do with banking. And the same for any other industry. The Supreme Court struck that down. They struck down in the course of doing that, as Byron White noted, Justice White noted in his dissent, they struck down laws in 31 states, hundreds of laws, good government laws, in doing this. And of course, that gave the NRA then in 1978-79, gave them the legal right to own as many politicians as they want. And they've been buying them ever since. I mean, that decision also greased the skids for the Reagan Revolution in 1980. It was a decision, by the way, written by Lewis Powell himself, the author of the Powell Memo. And it said, the decision essentially said, well, corporations are persons. Persons have First Amendment rights under the Constitution, so a corporation has a right to speak. The problem is a corporation doesn't have a mouth, so we will rule, Lewis Powell and the Supreme Court said, we will rule that money is the same thing as speech. So if corporations want to spend money. And so now we've got big gun controlling our legislature, big pharma controlling our legislature, big church controlling our legislatures, big insurance controlling our legislatures, big oil controlling our legislatures, and it goes on and on and on. Now, there is a possibility, and I think this is a very real possibility, that between Republicans' united opposition to doing anything about guns in the United States, and I'm going to tell you on the other side of this break what Canada is doing, but there is a possibility that between Republicans clinging to their guns and Republicans asserting that pregnancy or that human life begins at the moment of conception, and that even rape and incest and life of the mother should not be considerations, you know, forced pregnancy now, forced pregnancy tomorrow, forced pregnancy forever, right? That between those two things, guns and abortion, that there are going to be a lot of people going to the polls this fall saying, I've had it with the GOP. If the Democrats succeed in seizing a significant majority in the House and Senate, if we can outnumber and outmaneuver Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, if we can add more than 2 more senators, and if we can hold on to our majority in the House, and we've already replaced one blue dog, Kurt Schrader, with a brand new progressive in all probability, Jamie McLeod Skinner here in Oregon, and there are others, then I would like to argue here and now that the first order of business that Congress should address should be overturning Citizens United, the Supreme Court decision, and its predecessors, the Buckley decision in '76 and the Bellotti decision in '78.